In 2 weeks from now, on March 8th, International Women's Day will be marked here in Israel and all over the world. That day allowed us to celebrate our sisterhood, our abilities, and our strength as women. Even so, we must ask ourselves how we can be more influential. It is an honor for me to be here as the first woman to hold the position of the Minister of Intelligence. This reality, when I assumed my position as Minister of Intelligence, I defined a clear vision for a ministry to be a leading partner in promoting Israel's defense interests. In the last few weeks, I started to look into the ministry's activities and expand its areas of action, which I will be able to reveal soon. As we realize this vision, we are making the Ministry of Intelligence more significant and turn it into a powerful partner in Israel's defense and security community. Iran's nuclear program is undoubtedly the greatest strategic threat to the state of Israel and the entire region. Israel opposed signing another bad deal with the Iranian regime, which has turned concealment and lies into an art. We call upon the United States, our closest friend and ally, and on our partners in Europe to impose more and more crippling sanctions on the regime. Only severe and significant economic damage to the Iranian regime can stop its rush to the bomb, which threatens our mere existence, stability in the region, and peace in the entire world. We will not allow a murderous regime that openly calls for the destruction of Israel to possess weapons that threaten our existence. Today, I decided to speak about something that for me is remind me that 20 years ago when I started as a chairperson of the student union, we made a lot of protests here in Israel. But when I see in Iran the current wave of protest there that has lasted for almost 6 months, more than any other protest we have seen in this country in recent years. The previous protests we saw were sporadic, whether the Green Revolution of 2009 in protest of the falsification of election results, or the protests in 2017 and 2019 that erupted against the backdrop of the worsening economic situation in Iran. This time, there is also a clear trigger for the protest: the horrifying murder of the 22-year-old Masha Amini, who was beaten to death just because she wore her hijab in the way that did not satisfy the regime's moral police. But what began as the hijab protest quickly turned into a broad popular protest that swept the entire country. This time, not only members of the opposition, students throughout the country, and members of minority groups, but also residents of the big cities from the middle class went out into the streets. But above all, and everything happening there, the brave Iranian women stand out, and even school-aged girls who were ready to risk their lives to fight for their freedom. Just as the main slogan of the protest says, Zan Zandegi Azadi, and in English, women, life, freedom. Those brave women removed their head covering in public, stand in front of the security forces, and represent something much bigger than resistance of the operation of the murderous regime in Iran. The chants that have been heard in the demonstration for a long time do not refer to this issue alone, but we also hear the message said loud and clearly, Magbar dictator, which means that to the dictator, demanding the overthrow of the regime. This is what a real and widespread popular protest looks like, and this is also why it is ongoing and probably not going anywhere in the foreseeable future. Even if the Iranian regime continues to suppress the protest, it will not be able to suppress the values and the spirit and the soul of its people and of the women who demand freedom. What we have seen so far from all over the world is mainly condemnation and calls to stop the violence against the protests. But these are not things that will have an impact to the regime in Iran, one of the most violent and murderous regimes in the world today. Just think about the numbers. More than 500 innocent people who went to the street to ask for their freedom were murdered by regime forces. Around 60 of them were minors. About 20,000 people were arrested, and we know very well what happens in the dark basement of the prisons where the interrogations and the investigations take place. It is not just beating, but also severe torture and acts of rape against women, against men, and even minors. There are citizens who simply disappear, and no one knows what happened to them. Condemnations will not stop the violence against innocent people. Just like in the case of the nuclear program, the only way to stop the madness of the Iranian regime is through severe and crippled sanctions. The world cannot continue to stand by when the most basic human rights are trampled like this. Man kenartom instadam. This is what I want to say to the brave women of Iran. I say, I am with you. Dear ladies, I salute the Jerusalem Post Group for this significant conference, an evening that revolves around female empowerment and discussion of shared values. I wish for all of us, on the occasion of the International Women's Day, which will take place in 2 weeks, that we continue to dream, fulfill, and be an inspiration to young women all over the world. Our solidarity is strength, and together we can bring about new and significant achievements. So thank you very much. And I think that when we see how beautiful is Israel, and even though sometimes we have an arguing, even though in the government, in the parliament, Israel is safe, Israel is democracy, and we can be together having all this arguing together to ask, to think, to share, and to disagree. This is our powerful, and we need to see all of this and to bring this beauty, especially in these days. So thank you very much.